Please pray with me. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. I did not get my driver's license until I was 19 years old. Turns out that's probably a good idea. Not to discourage any of the people who are looking forward to this eventuality, but not too many weeks after I got my license, I had my stepmom's car, and I was probably paying about as much attention as I pay to anything, and I managed to make an injudicious left turn at a T and got into an accident. I was horrified. First of all, no one was hurt, thank God. Second of all, I thought, oh, my mom's car, oh, and then a string of words which I cannot repeat here in this room. I had a cell phone, I called my stepmom, and I said, I've been in an accident, I think your car is totaled. And I thought, this is it, this is the end of my life, this is where it's all over. And she said, I'll be right there. I was only 5 minutes away from home. She was there, but it was the longest 5 minutes of my life waiting for her to get there. And while I waited for judgment and doom, she came and she grabbed my hands, both of my hands in hers, and she said, are you all right? I said, no. I was crying, and she said, it's going to be okay. Did you expect a big stick to come down from the sky and beat you? And I said, yes. And in the kindness of her response to my foolishness, I experienced just an enormous relief and a sense of grace. I think that God's response to our foolishness is at the heart of our gospel message today. If you were going to tell a story, if you were writing a novel about a property manager who had squandered the wealth of his master, and then called into the office, the boss's office, and to be held account, well, what do you think the next part of the story would be? It reads like a Carl Hyacin novel where he's like, now I'm going to have to figure out how to work everything out to make it for my benefit in the long term. And what would the next part of the story read? When the boss finds out that his property manager has further been dishonest in his dealings, how would we expect this to land? That's it. So we should be astounded, shocked, maybe a little appalled, maybe a little scandalized by the word commended. And the master commended the manager. Is that the verb you were expecting in that sentence? Some of you, many of you, are or have been in your lives managers. That is not how you deal with a dishonest employee. How would Jesus tell a story like this? What's the purpose of a story like this? I want to back this up to our reading from Jeremiah. Now, for the last several weeks, we've been having a series of super fun prophetic readings from the Old Testament, have we not? God's not too pleased with how people have been doing things. The people of Israel made an agreement with God, and they're breaking that agreement. God's not too happy. And yet, in this morning's reading, we get some insight into the heart of who God is. It says that God has looked with compassion on his people. That God has entered into the suffering of the people, even though they have not been faithful, even though they have been reckless, even though they have been, to the Yankee imagination, this is the most offensive thing they could have been, wasteful. God enters into the suffering all the same. Wow. How amazing. I bet each one of you has had an experience where, in spite of yourself, someone else entered into your suffering. How did that feel? What was that experience like? Did you feel like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders? Did you feel like you could breathe a little more fully into your body? How good that feels. For me, I believe this is what is at the heart of Jesus' message this morning. Is that in spite of ourselves, in spite of what we've done, God has entered into our suffering. This last Friday, millions and millions of young people around the world participated in the climate march. I think some of them are up there in our loft. Some of you were at the climate march in New York City. Kids went on strike. They said enough is enough. They're taking climate justice seriously. And I couldn't help but notice that in the middle of our having squandered our beautiful resources, God's greatest gift to us, the earth that nurtures us and feeds us, and water that we drink, in the last 50 years, what did I read? That 20% of the birds in North America have just disappeared? We have been dishonest stewards of God's resources. And yet, there is grace. When I looked at the pictures of millions of young people standing up, I think that is an icon of grace. When I think about what people want to do, the action that they're willing to take, the risks that they will make, the stand that they have committed to, I think that is a picture of God's grace moving in the world. We can't undo the past. That car was totaled. There was no reclaiming it. But there's grace to move forward into a new future. There's grace that says what has been broken, and something new can be made out of this. If there is one message at the heart of Christian faith, it is that we come as the people that we are, with all our gifts and with all our brokenness. And it is in the offering and the openness of our brokenness, when we lay that at the cross, when we experience the resurrection. Last week in the E-Connections article, some of you, maybe one of you, I don't know, I hope, read. There's a Japanese technique. When you break a piece of ceramics, instead of throwing it into the garbage, you use a powder made with gold dust, and you glue and weld the ceramic piece back together so that all the broken pieces are reassembled. It will never again look or feel like the old piece. But instead of saying it's garbage and can't be redeemed, it is instead transformed into a new whole, an object of beauty that could never have been dreamed up in the original. I think for us as people of faith, this is what we're about. The past can never, ever be taken back. But with grace, the future can be transformed into an astounding new whole. In spite of ourselves, if we're willing, there's grace enough for all. In God's name, amen.